You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
Pappadum. I'm your host Vikram, and you're listening to Southern Slurp, the Quint's podcast where I take you on a quintessentially South Indian journey of food, recipes, stories, and song. And today we are going to talk about Papad, or as we call it in south of India, Appalam or Pappadum. The one food item that announces the beginning of a South Indian feast. And when there's nothing to eat, except some rice and maybe buttermilk, it becomes a substitute for all other dishes. You may be a super spy, but this is something you can't eat silently. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the crunchy, the crispy, the crumbly, absolutely tasty Appalam, Pappadum, Papad. Well, they're all the same but different. You could call them lentil wafers since they're basically made of lentil flour, but the cultural connect is in the name. Appalam or Pappadum if you happen to have an affinity for the Malayali version. You see, it's natural to compare it with the Papad of North India. Both are similar in the sense that they're made of seasoned lentil flour that's either fried in oil or roasted over a fire. But the Papad is not an Appalam, is not a Pappadum. Here's how they differ. First off, the Papad is also a snack. It's offered at restaurants as you wait for your order to arrive. You'll find it at meals and exhibitions sprinkled with chaat masala or chili powder. And you eat it whenever you feel like. The Appalam and the Pappadum are not snacks. They are part of a meal. It can only be seen as a food item in the context of a large, elaborate feast, or as a mainstay that's inevitable for lunch or at the dinner table at home. The Papad could be made of gram flour and usually has pepper in it, as popularized by Lijjat Papads. The Appalam is usually made of urad dal flour. But of course, like with everything else, it has a lot of variations, like rice appalam, tapioca appalam, and more. It expands to twice its size when fried. The Pappadum too has an urad dal base but with a rising agent, and so it bubbles and rises up like a puri when fried. The Appalam keeps well for up to 15 months, while the Pappadum lasts a couple of weeks at the most. All clear? Shall we move on? The Appalam and Pappadum are peripheral items that are part of a meal. Yet their status in South Indian culture is almost impossible to describe. But I'm going to try. Before we bite into the story, here's the traditional recipe for Appalam that's remained unchanged for centuries. It's like the great white shark. It's already at the pinnacle of evolution, so there's nothing to change. Presenting my party Lalita, who'll give you the lowdown on how it's made at home, which is where it was made, in houses of rural Tamil Nadu, or in the tiny yet sparse lower middle class homes in the cities where it was sold. Not until the 1960s did machines take over.
அந்த வெள்ளை உளுத்தம்பருப்பை நல்லா ஒரு கருப்பு உளுத்தம்பருப்பு நடுவுல எல்லாம் இல்லாம பொறுக்கி எடுத்து வச்சிட்டு
Take the white urad dal and remove the black ones and grind in the grinding stone. We used to do it that way in those days. Nowadays you get ready-made flour. They say it's pure and fresh, but I don't know about that. You take rock salt and dissolve it in water.
இப்போ வந்து தண்ணியில நனைச்சு வெச்சுக்கணும். பெரண்டைன்னு ஒன்னு இருக்கு. அது வந்து ஸ்டிக்கா இருக்கும் நடுவுல.
Then you take the perendai weed that looks like a long series of stick with ridges. You remove the ridges, grind it and filter out the juice. Jeera. 1 tablespoon for a kilo of flour. Add the salt, jeera and the perendai juice to the flour.
பெருங்காயம் வந்து அதையும் முன்னாடி எல்ஜி பெருங்காயம் தான் கிடைக்கும்.
Also, add the hing. We used to get the LG hing in those days. So we dissolved that too in some water and add to the flour. Mix all of it together and then knead it well.
பிசையணும்னா நல்லா அப்பளத்துக்கு பிசையிறதுன்னு அது ஒரு மெத்தட் இருக்கு. கையால
There is a method to kneading the dough for the appalam. You must use the heel of your palm to push the dough downward and forward and keep doing it. You can keep touching a little bit of coconut oil to it. Careful not to use too much. Then we take someone's help. We place it on the edge of the mortar, not inside the hole, and with the pestle, knead it even further. Then check if the salt and hing are all right by tasting a little. Add a little more dissolved in a little water if you want. It needs to be thicker than the chapati dough. Then take it little by little, knead it a little more, and then roll it into long cylinders
அதை பாம்பு மாதிரி திரிக்கணும்.
like a long snake, using a little bit of oil. Then using the knife, cut it into equal size pieces and then roll into flat shape. After this, you need to spread it when there is sunlight, either on open concrete or on a white cloth. If there is no sunlight the same day, then keep it spread out. It shouldn't be placed on top of another. Cover it with a basket with holes in it.
அந்த கிராமங்கள்ல இருக்கும்போது 8 லேடிஸ் வருவா. 8 லேடிஸ் எதுக்கும் மேல வருவா. நம்ம அமௌண்ட் ஜாஸ்தி.
In those days in the village, when a house made appalams, about 10 women from other houses would too come and join in to help. We would end up making around 400 and then dry it in the sun. When the edges start rising up, pick up the appalams immediately and store it.
மேல தூக்கிண்டு வரும் வெயில்ல போட்டோன்னு. அந்த சைடெல்லாம் மேல தூக்கிண்டோன்னு டபக்கு எடுத்துடணும். அவ்வளவுதான் அப்பளம். Thank you.
If you want more such recipes, I'd ask you to go check out the full playlist of Southern Slurp. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify and Geo7. Let's take a segue now to a particular weed that Patti mentions.
பெரண்டைன்னு ஒன்னு இருக்கு.
Cissus quadrangularis, aka the Welt grape, adamant creeper or the devil's backbone. This cactus-like creeper has been a part of the South Indian diet for at least 4,000 years, if not more. It finds mention in the Agananuru, an anthology of 400 poems composed by over 140 poets compiled in the 1st century. It also has elaborate mentions in Ayurveda. Externally, it helps heal broken bones, hence the name Hadjod in Hindi. And when cooked and eaten, usually as a fried, thick chutney, it alleviates indigestion, joint pains and irregular menses. Its juice is the secret juice, if you will, that gives the appalam that bite in taste and also makes it safe to eat. That's why you can eat a dozen appalams without turning into a gas bag. It's not often that recipes reveal their secret ingredient, so hold on to this one. Might come in handy either when you make appalams at home or just impress the crowd at a dinner. But how long have we been eating the appalam and the pappadum in the south? And have they always been a part of the lunch or dinner table? To answer this, we need to look to the King's Feast. The Yashastilaka, written in 959 AD, is one of the many treatises on Jain culture and life in the Rashtrakuta Empire. In this Kannada book, Somadeva talks about the lunch of rich people in the Deccan. Here's the menu. White shining Didivi rice, broths of golden hue, butter, curries, well-cooked dainty dishes, thick curds, milk, rice with milk, sweets, water perfumed with camphor, and pappada. The Bhavishayattakaha, written by Dhanapala in the 10th century, describes the royal feast that starts with sali rice and mugda dhal with ghee, where various types of pappada and kachara adorn the table. Siddhasena, a Jain monk in the 5th century, describes a posh feast as beginning first with washing your hands, then placing a plate in front and feasting on dried grapes and cashew nuts. Then came the melons and vegetables like cucumber, carrots and some dal, followed by different types of parparas, which is what pappadums and appalams were called, which had to be relished. Well, that's the instruction. From ancient times up until today, a South Indian feast is incomplete without an appalam. Google an Onam Sadhya image and you'll invariably find a pappadum on the top right of the banana leaf. It has to be there, covering the pickles or the raitas or lying glibly over the heaped rice in the center. Speaking of the Sadhya, we do have a rather delicious episode on its history, the birth of some of the iconic dishes in it, and the order in which they're laid out, plus the legend of Mahabali. Check it out in the playlist. In Kerala, it's not the appalam but the pappadum that's reigning champion. Surprisingly, the pappadum has always been prepared by pappadum makers who were a part of every village in those days. They were sold in kettas or bundles. In Mattanjeri, a locality in Kochi, lives one of the oldest pappadum making families of Kerala. The house they live in is in itself over a century old. The Malyas would supply pappadums in bulk to ships that berthed at the Mattanjeri wharf. They would be sold to the chandler, Not the Chandler Bing, the sarcastic one from Friends, but the ship's Chandler, who specializes in the retail of supplies for the ship's stores. This was risky business because sometimes the ships wouldn't arrive and the pappadums would have to be thrown away in bulk. You see, unlike the appalams, you can't store them for long. The ingredients are almost the same as with an appalam, except that a rising agent is used that old-timers call Pappadum masala, basically a cooking soda. Even today, the Malia family make about 1,000 pieces each day, which are sold out by evening. The Pappadum and Appalam are of course inevitable in a South Indian feast, but they are also the poor man's food. What's beautiful about this crunchy condiment is that it is equally at home. I have rice, rasam and a seasonal vegetable that's either sauteed or fried for lunch. Rasam is replaced by sambar or kurambu, which is a spicier non-dal version of sambar, depending on the mood. Just 3 courses, and an appalam is ideal for this simple meal. In fact, it is the appalam that continues to lift families out of poverty even today. You know, South Indians always made appalams and pappadums at home, like with pickles or other preserves. How did we come to buy them? Listen to the story of Ayyappan and Ambika. Ayyappan was a poor youngster who left his hometown Thrissur in Kerala and came to Chennai to eke out a better livelihood. Now here you'll find the pappadum maker connect. In 1915, in his tiny home in T Nagar, he started making pappadums. Pappadums last no more than a week or two. Ayyappan would sell 5 or 10 bundles of 20 pappadums a day to eke out a livelihood. After a while, he also made and sold appalams. The fact that appalams could be stored for over 15 months was a boon during World War II, when veggies and other food items were scarce. By this time, Ayyappan's son Velayudham took over the business from his father. He sold the appalams and pappadum on a cycle from Mylapore and T Nagar all the way to Tambaram, a good 30-kilometer stretch. Also, Tambaram was literally a different town back then. By 1963, Velayudham's appalam business had boomed into Ambika Appalam Depot, where both men and machines manufactured appalams and pappadums and other condiments in bulk. Thanks to the rise of nuclear families and the unavailability of raw materials readily, people began buying the appalams, which were until that time exclusively homemade. While the art of drying the appalams on the terrace is all but dead, as is the art of stealing and chewing on the drying pieces of flavored dough, the appalam had completely taken over Tamil Nadu, and Ambika appalams were the pioneers in making it wholesale. But is there a right way of eating appalams? You see, appalams and pappadums have love stories. Some like to hold them in their hand and alternate between a bite of appalam and a mouthful of sambar rice. Others like to place it at the center of the leaf or plate and slam it like thwacking a mosquito and then heaping some rice and rasam over it. Still others pour 2 ladles of payasam onto the leaf and then crumple a pappadum over it and mix the two and eat. The curious mix of savory and sweet and the texture of the pappadum that goes from crunchy to mushy as you lick the payasam clean is a golden hammer to the brain. But there's yet another way of eating the appalam, and that is as a kurambu. The appala kurambu is a curious recipe. The kurambu is a thin gravy like sambar that is eaten by mixing it in rice. It has no dal in it and is high on red chili heat and tamarind. The usual vegetable is either pumpkin or fried okra or small onions. It was probably in Tirunelveli that the veggies were replaced with the appalam and the kurambu. Tirunelveli is famously barren and is usually sparse in agriculture. The food of the place, therefore, unlike Tanjore, which is a rice bowl and has rich food, is equally sparse yet extremely tasty. Here then is the recipe for the appala kurambu. You must try this at home. If something feels off, you've either gone wrong with the amount of salt or you just need to let it simmer and reduce for a bit more. Listen to Anuradha, who's been cooking this for over 4 decades. I haven't tasted a better version of this thus far on the planet.
Preparation of appala kolambu. Ingredients: tamarind the size of Indian gooseberry, a little salt, sambar powder, appalam of course, chana dal is a must, asafoetida or hing, 1 inch piece of hing, and curry leaves. So you soak the tamarind in warm water for some time. You have to do a garnish of mustard, chana dal, put the hing in also so that it fries out properly. And after these have become a little red, add the papad which you have torn into. Each papad has to be torn into 8 pieces and fry it in the remaining oil so that it blossoms. After it has done so, add the curry leaves and add the tamarind paste, a little watery, not very thick, a little watery, and then the salt, turmeric, and the sambar powder. Let it boil for some time. It should not go down too much like vatta kolambu, but it should reduce a little bit. The consistency should be a little thicker than what you started in the beginning. And the smell of the sambar powder becomes more mellow, and that's it. Turn off. The whole process takes about 15 minutes. That's all.
The appalam or pappadum can either be fried in sesame oil or coconut oil. In Kerala, the leftover coconut oil is sometimes poured over rice, mixed well and eaten. The spices from the pappadum would have flavored the oil, which in turn gave the rice a uniquely delicious taste. But it can also be eaten by roasting over an open fire or over the gas stove. And this method works better for the appalam, because on a wood or coal fire, it absorbs the flavor of the smoke. And over a gas stove flame, the urad dal flavor comes through magnificently. You could try it with a pappadum as well, but it doesn't work that well. With the pappadum, it's all about the dilation and the way the wafer melts in your mouth. So it has to be fried. The appalam is only a small part of the South Indian feast, but it's irreplaceable. Nothing else that's equally crunchy or flavorful, and there are many such condiments, comes close to the cult status that the appalam enjoys. And it's not tradition that dictates this. It is taste. I'm going to fry me some pappadums now. Check out more stories on South Indian food on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and JioSaavn. And as always, thank you for listening.